Well, good day, all. This is Frater Ralph back again with Hermetic Temple Radio, brought to you by Temple of the Infinite Universe. We are a Hermetic Temple taking root in Wheatland, Missouri. Interfaith, dedicated to the cultivation of inner peace, wisdom, and the propagation of interfaith harmony. So, if you want to check us out, you can go to our main website online, www.hermetictemple.com. And today, in today's broadcast, I'm going to do something a little bit different. We haven't done an episode on the supernatural in a long time, and we haven't really done a good musical section playing jazz music for a long time. So today I'm going to combine both. I'm going to address a few questions that have been raised by people over the years, all under the title, Are Ghosts Real? Dealing with spirits, dealing with the supernatural. And I've got 5 questions we're going to cover over the course of this hour and a half. And in between segments, we're going to chill out, do some jazz music that I found by Mike Goudray, and I hope I'm pronouncing that last name correctly, but Mike Goudray Jazz Band, and he is an artist that I found on Magnatune, a Canadian artist. I'm not sure if he's French-Canadian, but he does do some French stuff too, but got a nice jazz sound. So we're just going to spend the next 90 minutes or so doing that, enjoying some good jazz music, and answering a few questions about ghosts. And if you've never experienced a ghost, never seen a ghost, you may think this is all just one big joke. But for those of us who have dealt with the supernatural and have had our own encounters, we know this is no laughing matter. But we're going to approach it in a spirit of good sense of humor and joy and fellowship, and just go with it. And to get us started out with, I'm going to play a song, I'll Be On Your Side, by Mike Goudray and his band.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. I will soothe you gracefully. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Some might try to take you. They might try to break you. So look up. I'm always on your side. You can always trust in me. Yes, you can, always can. I will be there when you need. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Sky might be cloudy, crowd might be rowdy, so look up, you'll see the sun will shine. Times of worries, don't be afraid, but look up, I'll be at your side. You can always talk to me, yes you can, always can. positively. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Well, you can always count on me, yeah, 'cause I'll be there for you, my friend. I will be there, I will be there, I will be there. Well, you can always count on me, yeah.
Okay, now for the next 90 minutes or so, we're going to be tackling questions about ghosts. Starting out with the question, are ghosts real? And before I begin, I'd just like to say that what I'm going to share with you are just things that come out of my own personal field of experience. I'm not going to get too technical or theoretical because, for me, there's nothing theoretical about this. I've had some experiences with ghosts and the supernatural going back to when I was in high school. And, I guess for the past 40 years or so, ghosts have just become a part of my day-to-day life. And to answer the question, are ghosts real? Obviously, for me, the answer is yes. But for those of you who have not had an encounter, or have had an encounter and just shrugged it off as, oh, it's just the wind, or it's just an old house that's settling, just the natural noises of stuff going on around here. For those of you who have not become convinced out of your own experience, there really is no way, I know of anyway, to prove the existence of ghosts to you. So, on one level, it's kind of subjective. And on another level, it's objective. I believe from an objective point of view that yes, ghosts are real. I believe that we are physical beings. And we are also spiritual beings. And one thing that they taught us in high school seminary is that we are, human beings are a composite of body and soul. And when it comes to the point where the body dies, the soul lives on. And to me, that just makes perfect sense. And of course, after you've dealt with a disembodied spirit, aka a ghost or a spirit, then, from your own personal experience, all theory aside, that ghosts are real. And I respect the fact that there are folks out there who will insist, ghosts aren't real. Why do you say that? Because I ain't never seen one. Well, okay. But, if you're only going to be convinced that something exists because you see it, then there's so many other things in this world that you're probably not going to believe in, which obviously exists, like atoms and molecules and things like that. And I advise people that it's always best to keep an open mind. Yes, every little sound that you hear is not necessarily going to be the creakings of a ghost walking through your home. Sometimes stuff will seem to be misplaced, and sometimes it's simply because we're forgetful. Does not necessarily mean that a ghost is moving things around in your home. But sometimes it does mean that there's something supernatural going on. So when we consider the possibility of ghosts, the existence of ghosts, and the supernatural, it helps to keep an open mind, and it also does help to be a little bit skeptical. Because, yeah, sometimes things are not always what they appear to be. And, sometimes a person can look up into the sky and insist they've just seen a UFO, and you can go out there and look at the same thing and say, well, no, that's just it's a helicopter. And once you get to hear the sound of the helicopter and the thing comes a little bit closer, it's a helicopter. It's not a flying saucer. And similar things with ghosts. Sometimes, some people can be nervous. Some people are just nervous by nature. And if they're home alone in an old house and they're not used to being alone and they hear something creak or a cat running across the front porch, they may freak out and say that the house is possessed. We got a ghost. But other times, when you're home alone late at night and you hear sounds and you investigate it, then and you investigate it objectively with an open mind, not with the mind of a debunker. You have to approach things with an open mind, being open to all possibilities, including those possibilities that you don't think are even possible, if that makes sense. But a lot of debunkers are not honest people. We see them on the internet, we see them on TV and radio, and these are just people who are not researchers, they're not scientists, they're just professional naysayers. And they're basically either hired to debunk a certain supernatural phenomenon, or they do it on their spare time. But their job is to just convince people that all these things, like ghosts and the supernatural, is just nothing but hogwash. And they will listen to your evidence with half an ear, and then they'll just say, you're imagining things, or you're making things up, or the worst of all, just look at you and say, you're lying, quit your lying, it's a fraud, it's a scam, you're lying. But once you have seen some of these things, like heard noises, seen spirit photography, heard the electronic voice phenomenon, encountered apparitions in your home or somebody else's home, and sensed the very real presence of a spirit, you know from your own experience that there is something very real to all of this. And for those of you who are naysayers, not yet convinced, I do urge you, don't be a professional debunker, don't be a professional naysayer. Keep an open mind and just remain open to the possibility that there is more to this universe than what you have personally experienced. A lot more. We live in an infinite universe, infinite possibilities, a lot of things out there that has not been adequately explored. So many frontiers left to delve into, and this is just one of them. So to deal with that first question, are ghosts real? I would have to say yes. I encountered my first ghost, my first real ghost, when I was in high school. And I was in high school seminary, and a friend and I were scheduled to do an internship of sorts. We were going to spend a weekend with a priest and a bishop who were serving at St. Mary's Cathedral Parish in Leavenworth, Kansas. And we didn't think anything of it. It's an old church in an old cathedral, and right around it was a old what do they call it? Rectory. Excuse me. That name escaped me for a while, but an old residence where the priest and the bishop were living. And my friend and I arrived at the rectory with our bags ready to spend a weekend running around with the priest, seeing what it is that a priest really does, serving his parish on a Saturday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And when we landed and walked in the door, we were welcomed by the priest, and he showed us upstairs to our room. It was a rather large rectory. And as we were settling in, the priest told us, "I don't want to scare you. I'm not trying to be funny, but we have a poltergeist that is here within the rectory. And if anything strange should happen, you hear any weird noises or see any strange things, don't be scared. This spirit that we have here is not harmful. It's just a mischievous spirit. It likes to play games with people. So if you should see anything weird over the weekend, don't panic. That's just our resident poltergeist." And of course, my friend and I thought that the priest was putting us on. And we settled in. We kind of giggled and laughed about the priest's, warning. And we settled in, and that first night, we were sitting in our room talking, kind of chatting about, this, that, and the other thing. And we had the door to the room closed. And it was one of those big, heavy doors. Old-fashioned, 1880s style door, So the whole place was built sometime in the 1800s. And it was very sturdy construction. And I knew that I had not locked the door, but closed the door. And we were sitting there talking, and all of a sudden, the doorknob turned, and the door swung wide open. And my friend and I looked at one another and smiled, and we were both thinking, it's the priest. He's playing games with us. And so, we smiled, we got up, we looked down the hallway. Not a soul was there. No one was there. And of course we thought, well, maybe the priest just was a pretty fast runner. So we went downstairs. Our room was upstairs, and we went downstairs to see who else was in the rectory. And there, sitting in the living room, was the priest and the old bishop, and they were both just sitting there, their feet up on the ottoman, reading the newspaper, just completely relaxed, and no evidence whatsoever that they had run upstairs to play games with us by opening up the door. And so when we saw that, we went back up to our room. We didn't talk to the priest about it, but we kind of figured out there was something very strange going on. And we went to sleep. Nothing bad happened. We got off to sleep. Then woke up the next morning, and over breakfast we chatted with the priest about what we had experienced, and he said, "Yeah, that's what I thought might happen. This is a pretty active poltergeist that we have wandering around the rectory." And he shared with us some of the things that the poltergeist had done. And he said there's one section of the roof that always leaked, and they had the roof reshingled and tarred and just fixed and redone. And periodically, in that same section, there would be a finger-sized hole that would just suddenly appear, as if somebody were going up into the attic and poking their finger, through the shingling and creating a hole in that same spot. And he said he just lost count of how many times he had called the roofers to come in and repair, that leaky roof in that one spot. And there are many other things that the ghosts could and would do, but It was just a mischievous spirit that liked to play around, liked to make his or her presence known. So that was my first encounter with the supernatural, and that was really the main first experience that convinced me. Now, we're going to go on to a few other questions, but first I'm going to play a song, again by Mike Goudray, called Mean Old Man, and we'll get back to our discussion after this.
Come to my house, you must remember this, that my next door neighbor is a man you don't want to mess with. He doesn't look for trouble, just wants to be left alone. But if you cross that fence now, brother, you might not make it back home. Well, I don't know why he's angry, never had the nerve to inquire. When I meet him, I tip my hat. He never cracks a smile. He's a mean old man. Mean old man. Mean old man. Mean old man. Girl Scouts selling cookies knocked on his door one day. They didn't heed to the warning that were everywhere on display. When that door swang open, stood a man of 6'4". Can't you read? A big voice growled, and don't come round here no more. I don't know why he's angry, I've never had the nerve to inquire. When I meet him, I just tip my hat. He never cracks a smile. He's a mean old man. Mean old man. He's a mean old man. Mean old man. Across the street, them hoops were making trouble and noise with the pimp cars pumping the beats. A neighbor man, he walked over, said, boys, you best go home. Then he pulled out a sawed-off shotgun, said, find a place of your own. Well, I don't know why he's angry, I've never had the nerve to inquire. When I meet him, I just tip my hat. He never cracks a smile. He's a mean old man. Mean old man. He's a mean old man. Mean old man. He's a mean old man. You better not cross that fence, brother.
Okay, mean old man, and that kind of leads into our second question. Are ghosts evil? And that really is a difficult question to answer because, to me, from my experience, ghosts are just like folks. They're just people. And like it is in the natural world that we live in, the physical world, some people that you run across are really nice, very friendly, wouldn't hurt a fly. And then you got other folks like Charles Manson or Adolf Hitler who never met anybody they didn't want to kill. And we've got a mixture of good people, bad people, evil people, saints, and a lot of folks that are just in between. Neither really good, neither really evil, just folks that are just trying to get through life as best they can, just want to be left alone or be sociable or, whatever, however their personality is wired. And when it comes to ghosts and spirits, it's the same thing. Uh, you can kind of think about it like this. If you're living in a home and somebody dies, the EMTs, ambulance drivers come out and they'll try to save the person if they can. And if not, they'll pack up the body on a stretcher and wheel them on out and take the body away. Sometimes they'll leave the soul behind. Sometimes when a person dies in a certain location, they choose to remain. They have just grown so attached that they just feel like they want to remain in that one location. And if a good person dies in a house and chooses to remain behind, or is perhaps caught up in denial, doesn't want to believe that they're dead, and remains behind trying to act like they're still alive, trying to go through their daily routine, then what you're dealing with in that case is just your average person. A disembodied person, yes, but just an average person that for whatever reason chooses to remain in that one area. Now, if an evil person dies, or a wicked person dies, or somebody that has a really weird personality problem dies in a certain location, and they take the body away, and again, those silly ambulance drivers, sometimes they leave the soul behind because we're trained in our 21st century, America, that ghosts do not exist, spirits do not exist. It's just everything's material. So they focus on that material body, take that material body out of the home, and don't think, should we encourage the spirit to also follow? It doesn't enter into the equation. We're not sensitive to that usually. So yeah, when a wicked person dies, or an evil person dies, or just a person that likes to play games and be mischievous dies, and the soul remains behind, then that is what you're dealing with. Sometimes a ghost is just a perfectly normal human being that's just gone through a major trauma like death and is trying to make the best of it. And other times, a ghost can be a wicked, evil person that died or perhaps got himself killed in a certain location and chooses to remain in that location. And sometimes, you're dealing with a spirit that means no harm, might be scary, but means no harm. And sometimes, yeah, you can be dealing with a pretty wicked, mean old man that is disembodied. So, yeah, are ghosts evil? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But in my experience, we live in an area that used to be an Indian Native American camping ground. I have never really found out what tribe, what nation yet. But, the property that we live on used to have ceremonial mounds spread across it. Some of those mounds have been desecrated. I was just musing to myself about that while I was outside chopping wood a little while ago. And one ceremonial mound is preserved and will be preserved for probably the next several years because our house, our little two-bedroom cabin, is built directly on top of it. I didn't realize that when I first bought our home. I mean, I crawled under the house and I saw this big mound that nobody had had tried to remove. The builder of the home just built the home right around this big old mound. He didn't try to excavate it at all. Matter of fact, he did surprisingly very little excavation work, just what was absolutely necessary. And the guy that built our home, he built it back in the 1970s, built it very carefully to center it right around this mound. And after he got everything built, he got everything taken care of, it was his desire to retire there, to relax there, to enjoy his last years of life in that home. And after he got everything set up the way he liked it and finished, completed, he died. So one of those little ironies of life is that the original builder of our home never really got to enjoy that home. But needless to say, I have experienced his spirit within our home. He's still there. He's enjoying his retirement in the afterlife, more or less, so to speak. But yeah, still enjoying himself in our little home. And when I got crawling under our home, doing some plumbing, putting in some new water lines and hot water lines, I dug into the outer section of that ceremonial mound and found out it wasn't just a pile of dirt. There were some arrowheads that came up in that area, so that's the first thing that tipped me off. Is that, this was not just a mound of dirt. This was a ceremonial mound that was built for a reason, and I believe that the man who built our home in such a way that he would not disturb that Native American mound. And, we've encountered a lot of Indian spirits and a lot of other spirits too. One was a French fur trapper that we've encountered. And I'm happy to say that all of these spirits, the French, the Native American, and the old man who was not a mean old man, but just an old guy that was trying to build his retirement home and died before he could fully enjoy it in this life, they have all been positive or at least neutral spirits. Just average folk just trying to make their way through life, or in this case, trying to make their way through the afterlife. And when we first began encountering these spirits, it was scary. And that thought went through my mind. Are we dealing with something evil here? But over time, we learned that we could live with these ghosts. We could coexist with these spirits. And that's going to lead me into my next question. Can I coexist with ghosts? But first, in honor of our French fur trapper spirit that we have living in our home, I'm going to play something of a French-Canadian persuasion. This is again by Mike Goudret and his jazz band, and the name of the song is French. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but hope you enjoy it.
C'était peut-être un peu trop beau. Trop beau. C'était peut-être un peu trop beau. Premier bâton dans les roues, tu jettes mon cœur dans la boue. On n'avait peur de rien, on s'était bien juré de s'aimer. On s'était bien juré de s'aimer. Maintenant tu veux laisser tomber. Peut-être m'as-tu déjà oublié. c'est dans mes rêves. Une relation sans ennui. Si ça existe, c'est dans mes rêves.
Yo, I don't know what he said, but I sure like the way he said it. And let's get on with our next question. Can I coexist with ghosts? And really, that's kind of a yes and no. It depends on your attitude. It also depends on the attitude of the spirit in question. If you've got a spirit of somebody that just a benevolent person or just an average person who just wants to hang out, then yeah, coexistence is possible. Now, if you have the attitude that, this is my house, I bought it, I paid for it, and I don't want any disembodied spirits messing with me or my family or upsetting my routine, well, then you may have some problems. Because from your perspective, it's your home, right? Obviously. You've paid your money, you've got the title, you're paying the rent, whatever your arrangement may be. So from your perspective, it's your home. But before you, the spirit was there. And from the perspective of the ghost, that's his home or her home or its home. And so if you come across in an aggressive manner with the spirit may decide to get aggressive right back at you. And so you really have to kind of tread carefully on this. If you are dealing with just a common, ordinary spirit that just for some reason or another feels attached to your home or the land or your location where you happen to be, and it's not a malevolent spirit, but just an average spirit that doesn't want to do any harm, just wants to live in peace in the afterlife, on the earthly plane, in your home, then you can you can coexist with that spirit. But again, you have to kind of tread carefully. You have to have a certain level of humility. If you go in there thinking that this is my home, I can do with it as I please, as I like, and you start changing some things around that upsets the spirit, well, you may have some problems. There's an old song by John Fogerty, and I forget now what it is, but one classic line talking about zombies in this case, not spirits, but, in a way, this would be a spirit, because the old line goes, you can't fight a shadow, you can't kill a dead man. And when you make enemies with somebody on the material plane, okay, well, yeah, you can, push comes to shove, you can sock them, you can hit them, you can, yell at them, you can throw things at them, you can hurt them physically. But you can't do that on the spiritual plane. I mean, not very easily. It's not the same. If you make an enemy out of a disembodied spirit, it's a lot harder to handle than it is if you just make your next door neighbor angry at you. So you have to tread carefully. Now, in our experience, Okay, when our spirits first began to get restless, they made themselves known in a grand way. I was working late at night. I would come home about 3 o'clock in the morning, and my wife would be in bed asleep. And I was just used to coming home, quietly cleaning up, getting ready for bed, and snuggling up in bed and going to sleep. Well, this one evening, I got home, actually early morning, about 3 o'clock. Oh, the lights in the house were on. My wife was up, sitting on the couch in the living room, with just a look of fear and terror on her face. And I asked her, what happened? What's going on? What? And she told me that I heard noises. I heard like a sound of a large animal prowling up in the attic. And it sounded like it was tearing things apart. And I got in there and we stayed up for a while. And the noises, the minute I got into the house, the noises stopped. And after about an hour, we went back to bed, and evidently the supernatural activity had subsided because, we both got a few hours of sleep until daylight came. And then once daylight came, I got the ladder. I looked up inside the attic where my wife had said she heard the noise of like an animal prowling around. And I looked, and there was nothing disturbed. Not any physical evidence that anything had been up there. Because that's what I thought. I thought that, maybe a squirrel had gotten in through one of the vents. And maybe a few squirrels had gotten in, and they were playing around up there making a racket. But, the vents were all in place. There was no sign of animal activity. Just our junk sitting up there in the attic. And that's what really was my first alert that we had spirits there in the house that wanted our attention, or was trying to get our attention. And that night they really succeeded in getting my wife's attention. And a few days after that, I was sitting in the living room. This was during the daylight. And I heard the sound of footsteps in the house. And I heard somebody, sitting on the bed. And I heard somebody exhale, like this. Nothing demonic, nothing evil, just, like somebody that was just sitting down and relaxing and feeling good about being able to sit down and relax. And the noise was coming out of the bedroom. So at that time, my wife was not in the house. It was just me. But we had a large dog. And I thought that, his name was Lobo. And I thought, okay, he was making his way into the bedroom, jumped up in the bed, and was just relaxing, enjoying himself up in the bed. So I got up, went into the bedroom, ready to chase our large dog off the bed. There was nothing. No animal, no person, nothing there that could have made the footsteps. Certainly nothing that could have made the sound. And that was my second alert. Because at first when my wife was telling me that she heard the noise up in the attic, I thought, maybe it was just her imagination getting the better of her. Maybe she was just, flipping out a little bit, home alone late at night, hearing some strange sounds. Imagination kind of kicks in, starts working overtime. I thought maybe it was all just in her head. But when I had that experience, I knew I wasn't hallucinating. I knew what I had heard. And I knew that there was no physical entity in the home that could have been responsible for those sounds. I knew that, we had we had some spirits. So what we did after that, I mean, we kind of spent some time in prayer, spent some time in meditation, kind of quieting down, trying to just kind of get a feeling as to what we were dealing with. And my wife and I both got the feeling that what we were dealing with there was not demonic, it was not malevolent, that these were just spirits. And it was more than one. I mean, yeah, we got that feeling right off the bat that we had a collection of spirits that were in that house. And so what we decided to do, and this is just really simple common sense stuff, but we decided to practice the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And we thought, yeah, we were going to try to coexist with our group of spirits, our tribe of spirits, if you will. And we spent time talking with them. We're both of a spiritual bend, so yeah, we'd burn candles, we'd burn incense. I started to do a little bit of research on Native American spirituality, and just started, burning incense that I thought would be soothing and calming and relaxing to the Native American spirits, and to the other spirits when they made their presence known. Just make a conscious effort not to freak out. Because, if you freak out, that doesn't make a very good first impression on the spirits. And there are some spirits that will feed on negativity. So if you feed that spirit with negative energy, they will feed off of that and just decide to stay and wear you down as much as possible. Now, fortunately, we're not dealing with that in our home. These are positive spirits, and we just show them respect. We show them, reach out with a hand of friendship. And when we get a feeling that, they want our attention, like they have something to say, we just go with it. Getting back to our French spirit, French fur trapper spirit. This happened a few years ago, probably about 7 years ago. And at that point in time, I knew that we had the original owner of the home, who was now a spirit residing with us. And I knew that we had a variety of Native American spirits that were also associated with the land and also coming to pay visits to us in the home. I had no clue that we had any French people, even though we live in an area called the Pomme de Terre, a little French place name given to the area by the original French settlers. But one night, I was laying in bed, sleeping, and my wife was in the living room, sitting on the couch. She had fallen asleep there. I went to bed and fell asleep there. And after a while, I had the weirdest dream. I dreamt that there was a man sleeping next to me and had red hair, a red beard, red mustache, was dressed in some old-fashioned clothes, just like a rather rugged outdoorsman, and he was speaking to me in a very strange accent. And he kept repeating. He was trying to get my attention, and he kept repeating, "Bring me your woman. Bring me your woman." And I woke up with a start because, okay, what does he want my wife for? Does he mean to do us harm? Does he mean to do her harm? And I just didn't get that feeling that this was a diabolical, evil entity that was speaking to me. And so I woke up, got up out of bed, kind of processed what had happened, and just shook my head and thought, okay, maybe it's just a dream. But just to be on the safe side, I better run this past my wife and see what she thinks. because she's a lot more sensitive to this stuff than I am. I think that's why the Frenchman was saying, "Bring me your woman." He knew I wasn't fully in tune, so he was wanting somebody that he could better communicate with. So I went out and woke up my wife and told her what had happened. And she went into the bedroom and stopped at the foot of the bed. And she said, "Yes, I sense a spirit here." And she began to describe him. And her description matched the description that I had seen in my dream. Just a rather tall, skinny, red-headed man dressed up like a fur trapper. And we took a picture, and there were certain orbs that were floating around the bed, right in the position where I had seen him laying in my dream. And that was kind of freaky. I have to admit, that was kind of freaky, but we didn't freak out totally. We attempted to communicate with the spirit, and over the next few days, we just began to listen, meditate, listen, try to see if there's anything that this French spirit was trying to communicate to us. And again, it was my wife that made the breakthrough. She had a apparition, or saw an apparition. God, I don't really know the proper technical term to call it. But she had, I'm just going to call it a vision, in which there is a little girl, a little white girl, living with a white family, and also in a community with Native American Indians. And she saw across the river a group of soldiers that were gathering, and she heard gunfire, and she saw this little girl that had been playing underneath a tree suddenly fall after being shot, and her mother running out, crying, screaming, and then the sound of gunfire as these troops opened fire on the French settlers and the Native Americans that were part of this community. And evidently, on our ground, a small battle, massacre, if you will, had occurred. Something that is not covered in our local history, something that I haven't read in any books. And I haven't really been able to research it to verify it totally. But that is the story that my wife had been able to piece together from her revelations and her conversations with the spirits. That there was a family that was living very happily here, just working, trading, living with the Native Americans. And then all of a sudden, probably during the French and Indian Wars, the English came and wanted to drive out the French, wanted to drive out the Indians, and committed a little massacre, if there is such a thing as a little massacre. But yeah, it's just like a bolt out of the blue. And that's what the French fur trapper, French settler, I don't really know. I never got his name, because after this revelation came about, he disappeared. Figure he thought that his mission in life had been accomplished, or rather his mission in the afterlife had been accomplished. But once we pieced together that story, again, the psychic disturbance involving this Frenchman just calmed right down, and I'm happy to report I haven't woken up with him next to me in bed in years. So, and that's evidently all he wanted. He just wanted somebody to acknowledge, to know, and understand the terrible end that he and his family had encountered, and the injustice that had been done. And we gave him that recognition. We were able to piece together that story. And now he's not causing us any further distress or any disturbances, I guess I should say. So that's one thing about, to answer the question, can I coexist with the spirits? And the answer is yes, but you also have to be open to the spirits. You have to be sensitive to the spirits. You know, we're human beings. We're in the body, but we have human needs. And the spirits are the same. They're human beings that have just been disembodied, either recently or sometimes in the distant past. And they too have their needs. They too want to be heard, and they have a message every once in a while that they feel they want to communicate. And we have to be sensitive to those needs, listen to them when they want to communicate, and when they don't want to communicate, just leave them be. Leave them alone. Just go through your life as you normally would, your regular day-to-day routine. But at the same time, you know, if things should happen that's strange, if things should appear and disappear, you know, sometimes you get a mischievous spirit that wants to hide things on you. Don't freak out. Just smile and say, okay, that's the world of spirit making itself known. Just our little poltergeist. So yeah, if you are of a mindset to live at peace with the spirits and coexist with the spirits, and the spirits are of a similar mindset and they want to live at peace with you, then yeah, you can coexist with ghosts. Now, if you're dealing with a evil presence, an evil spirit, a malevolent spirit, then things get pretty dicey. And that's going to lead into our next question. My home is possessed. Who do I call? And unfortunately, we don't have the Ghostbusters. Not in our area. Here's another little song, and we'll be back after this.
Why did you treat me so bad? Do you delight in hurting me? And I blame myself time after time. Why'd you treat me so bad? Why did you lie to me? I thought we'd always speak honestly. Asked you a question, you couldn't look in my eyes. Why'd you lie to me? Yeah, I'm guilty of loving you, yet you treat me so unkind. When you loved the other guy, well, that's where I had to draw the line. Why did you do me so cruel? What's the point in messing my mind? I wish the story had another end. Why'd you do me so cruel? I'm guilty of loving you. Yet you treat me so unkind. When you loved the other guy, well, that's where I have to draw the line. Why did you do me so cruel? What's the point in messing my mind? I wish the story had another end. Why'd you do me so cruel? I wish the story had another end. Why'd you do me so cruel?
Okay, now so far, we've dealt with benevolent spirits, poltergeists, common everyday people that decide for whatever reason to remain behind. The body dies, the soul remains, and they just want to hang out in a certain location. But we haven't dealt with malevolent spirits or demonic presences or evil spirits. And yeah, they do exist. But what does a person do? My home is possessed. Who do I call? Ghostbusters! But unfortunately, it's not like it is in the movies. There's not always a ghost-busting organization nearby you to help out. But if you are dealing with a spiritual presence that has taken over your home, taken over somebody you love in the form of demonic possession, something that is causing damage to your peace of mind, something that is doing harm to you physically. And these things do happen. Fortunately, we have not had to deal with that here. But other people have not been as fortunate. And how do you handle that? Well, there are certain things you can do in the form of psychic self-defense. Whatever your spiritual tradition is, pray, fortify yourself spiritually every day. Meditate, raise your spiritual energy according to your own personal belief systems. You can burn candles. You can burn incense. But sometimes there are certain malevolent spirits that are very stubborn. They have it in their consciousness that they want to stay in a certain area and inflict harm on people in whatever way they can. And you can throw all the holy water at them that you like, and it doesn't do a bit of good. They just keep right coming at you like a metaphysical raging bull. And if you are in this position, and I can't emphasize this enough, don't toy around on your own. Get some professional help. And I don't necessarily mean a psychiatrist. And that opens up a can of worms right there. One of the hardest things about dealing with a supernatural malevolent presence is going to be to get people who might be able to help you to believe you and take you seriously. But there are organizations, they're not everywhere yet, but there are some organizations around that specialize in spirit rescue, ghost busting, exorcism, trying to do like house cleansings. And you may have to look them up online. As a matter of fact, you probably will have to look them up online. And just seek some good, qualified outside help. And if you are a religious person who is active within the Catholic Church or Episcopalian Church or any other faith tradition that takes exorcisms and demonic possession, that takes the spiritual seriously. You may want to contact your local priest and just tell them what's going on. And again, one of the more difficult things in dealing with this phenomenon is going to get people to believe you. I know in the Catholic Church, a lot of times they have to do an investigation before they authorize the use of exorcism. And sometimes, depending on the attitude of the local priest, even getting somebody out to your house, it may be like pulling teeth. So, yeah, seek outside help. Do what you can do to protect yourself, to raise your own spiritual energy to stay healthy. And then see what you can do to get some good outside help. And sometimes that's possible through paranormal investigators that will come in and investigate for you. And they may be able to do a service like home cleansing, and some may be able to set you up with a qualified priest or minister or bishop that can perform the rite of exorcism to get that spirit out of your home or out of somebody that you love and care about. Now, if that's not a possibility, if you can't locate somebody and you've tried everything that you can do and you feel that your life, that your safety is in jeopardy, get the hell out of the house. And I say that kind of half jokingly, but unfortunately, there have been people who have been in that position where they've just tried everything they know how, and they've called in people that they thought would be able to help. And in the end, the best that they could do would be to just get off the property and get out of the house. But when you're dealing with the supernatural, it's not always, like telling ghost stories around a campfire. It's not always peace and love and, warm fuzzies and, dealing with spirits that just want to tell you their story. Sometimes there are evil entities out there that want to do you harm. Fortunately, we have not really had to deal with that yet. We've had to deal with some upset spirits, yes. And we've been able to calm them, soothe them, make peace with them, and just go about our lives, us in the material world and them in the supernatural world. But sometimes you do get some very hard to deal with spirits, demonic entities, spiritual malevolent entities. And the best thing that you can do, just try to keep yourself focused, keep yourself spiritually grounded, keep yourself safe. And if you really feel that you're in danger and you can't find qualified help, or you've called in help and they've tried and they couldn't drive out the presence, then be prepared to abandon that property and find some other place. Your own personal life, your own personal safety always comes first. And a home can be replaced. Some people get run out of their homes because of bad weather, tornadoes, fires, natural disasters. And it is sad, but yeah, some folks also get run out of their homes because of a supernatural disaster. And that's where a person should really do a little bit of investigation. If a home's been sitting empty for a long, long time. It looks like a nice property, or the home has had, more owners than you can count. Do a little bit of investigation. Find out why that home has been abandoned, or why many other people have abandoned that home over the years. And investigate before you buy. Sometimes buying a haunted house can be a great experience. I bought our house, didn't know it was haunted. I just bought it because the price was right. It's incredibly cheap. I needed a place to live, and that was definitely affordable. Paid the whole house off in 3 years. I mean, heck, how often can you say that? And I found out why. Yeah, it had a little bit of a history to it. But fortunately, in our case, we were able to make peace with these various entities, and we've been coexisting with them for about the past 20 years or so. Other times, if you are dealing with something truly evil, do not take it lightly. Call in professional help. Try everything you know how to do. And if that still doesn't work, then move on. And I hate to say that, but sometimes you can find people that can help. Sometimes you're just dealing with a very, very, very stubborn spirit that you just don't want to take too many chances with. Play this other song, and then we're going to wrap it up with my last question. And we'll be back after this.
Change my mind if you want me to stay. Change my mind if you want me to stay. Change my mind, well, I'll be on my way. These words you sing, scenes I've heard before, but this lovesick fool keeps coming back for more. You'd think by now I would have learned to leave you, but how can I leave you when you look the way you do? Change my mind if you want me to stay. Change my mind, I'll be on my way. You say that this time will be the last time. Don't wanna start over no more. We'll make like nothing ever happened. Well, maybe I should be walking out that door. Change my mind if you want me to stay. Change my mind, I'll be on my way.
Now, our last question, for those of you who are a little brave and more adventurous at heart, should I try to contact a ghost? And there are various reasons, okay, that a person might want to contact a ghost. Sometimes close loved ones who have died. And, you may want to perform a seance or just talk to the spirits, talk to the person that you love that is gone. Death is like the ultimate separation. And for those of us of a spiritual nature who know that the soul lives on, that death is not the end, that doesn't make it any easier. I mean, death is still the ultimate separation. And it's hard. And depending upon our level of attachment, it can be, it is a heartbreaking event. But, I mean, it can also be seen as a happy event. But, if a person is trying to seek to contact a person who has crossed over because they can't let them go, that they want to hold on to them, that has not made peace with the fact that this person has passed on, I would say no. It is probably not healthy for you, nor for the person who has crossed over, for you to try to initiate contact with your loved one. I believe it is possible. I know it to be possible. But the question is it beneficial? I dealt with a lady a few years ago who was wanting me to do a tarot reading to contact the spirit of her son who had died 5 years previously. And it was a tragic, heartbreaking situation that this lady had been placed in. Her son had been young, strong, vibrant, the future looked bright. And while he was still, somewhere in his 20s, he was suddenly killed in a tragic accident. And this poor woman had not been able to make peace with that. She buried the body of her son. Something no parent should ever have to live through. Unfortunately, a lot do. But she could not bury his memory. She could not let go of her boy. And so I was placed in a situation, okay, what do I do? I did not encourage the lady to try to seek contact with her son. That's pretty much what she wanted. But I told her, you have to find peace in the knowledge that your son is happy where he is. He's crossed over to a safe, comfortable place. He's in a good world. He's happy. And he wants you to be happy. And I told her this because that's what the tarot reading that I did indicated. And that's the message that I was receiving from the world of spirit. But my main message to her was, okay, try to be at peace with the fact that your son is happy and he wants you to be happy. And I've lost contact with this lady. I don't know. I hope, this has been like 5 years ago, I hope that over the course of 10 years she has been able to make peace with that situation, with that terrible, terrible separation. But some people find it hard to let go. And when it comes to death of a loved one, we have to remain behind. It's not fair. It's not pleasant. But that's just the way it is. Sometimes our loved ones have to move on. We have to remain behind. And we can communicate with them. We can say we're sorry for past offenses. We can tell them that we love them. But we also have to be able to let go. Let them move on, and let ourselves be able to move on in our lives. And I know it's easier said than done, but that's the hard truth. And if a person has not been able to let go, I would say it's probably not a good idea to try to contact anybody in the afterlife. Now, if you have made peace and you just want to know something, like, a rich uncle died and he never told anybody where his will was, and you've been looking all over the estate and haven't been able to find that will, then you may want to call in a proper spiritist or person that is talented in talking with the deceased, and see if you can make contact with Uncle Fred and see where he placed that gosh darned will. But for the most part, what I've experienced, and I'm speaking now as a pastor who had served for over 6 years in a small country parish in a retirement area. And we had the average age of the person in my church was 70. And I'd been a member of that church for like 10 years before I became minister. And then I became minister, and a lot of the old folks, the old friends that I had in that church were just, at one point they were dropping like flies. If I could get through 1 month without having to do one funeral, I would feel blessed. But there were some times where every other week there'd be a funeral, and it would be somebody that I'd known for ages. And we'd send them off, we'd bury them, and sometimes these people would come back. Now, I did not initiate the contact. What I found in my own experience is if there is an issue that the deceased feels they need to take care of, something that they failed to do in their earthly life, then they will try to make contact with somebody who is sensitive enough to be able to hear what they have to say. And sometimes it's, something like, I left the will in the back closet behind an artificial false wall back there. Or it may just be something like, hey, tell everybody I'm okay. Tell everybody I'm fine. I had a lady that shared an experience with me a few years ago after she buried her daughter. Again, another very heartbreaking situation. She went through a year where she was mad at God, mad at the universe. Her daughter had been killed tragically, and she just refused to make peace with that. And after 1 year, she went to her daughter's grave and was just crying and yelling and screaming at God and anybody else up there that would listen, and just saying how unfair it all was and how angry and sad that she was to have lost her daughter. And after she got all that ranting and raving out of her, she looked up, and standing right by the tombstone was an apparition of her daughter. And her daughter said to her, "Mother, I'm happy where I'm at. I know it hurts, but you need to move on. I'm happy. Let go of me. Let me continue to be happy in the afterlife. It hurts to see you like this. Just be at peace. Know that I love you. Know that I am not in any danger. And at the proper time, we will be reunited. But that time is not yet." And that contact was not initiated by the mother. It was initiated by the spirit, by the ghost, if you will, of that lady's daughter. And once the daughter told her mother what she needed to tell her, the mother was able to find peace. And she went through many years of her life not telling that story to anybody until I started to open up about some of the experiences that I've had with the spirits of the deceased. And she thought, wow, this is great. I finally get to tell my story to somebody who will listen, to somebody who knows that I'm not crazy. So should I contact a ghost? Yes and no. I would say be cautious. Be wary. You have to first try to figure out why you want to contact the ghost. Answer the question, is it beneficial to contact a ghost? And I would say 9 times out of 10, if there is a legitimate need for us to make contact with the spirits of the deceased, they will initiate the contact. And we don't have to do anything except be sensitive, be alert, be aware, and listen. Now, I have other friends that like to do all kinds of spiritual contact, spiritual work, spirit photography, go around with tape recorders and recording, spirit voices. And that's all well and good. I mean, if you are adventurous and if you have been well trained or trained well enough in things of a supernatural bend, then I'd say go for it. Unless you find that you start messing around with malevolent spirits, and then you need to back off a little bit. But yeah, contacting spirits, it's not something to be taken lightly. Those who have trained themselves well enough, I see no harm in it. Those who are doing it for the right reasons and the right purposes, again, I see no harm in it. But it's not something that is done casually, and you just really have to be careful. And that's what I'm going to part on here. Just be careful. This is Fred Ralph signing off for Hermetic Temple Radio. If you'd like to contact me, if anything that I've said in this broadcast hits you or resonates with you and you want to talk, you can begin the process by contacting me through the email, hermetictemple@gmail.com. I will put that link in the program description. Believe I already have. And we'll begin an email conversation, and then if you want to chat on the phone, we can probably work that out too. But feel free to contact me using that email address, and whatever you have on your mind. These topics are not common topics. Sometimes it's hard to find somebody who will listen and believe us when these things happen. So if you need somebody to talk to, I can be available. Until later then, you all take care, have a wonderful day, and a blessed lifetime of spiritual discovery. I'm going to close again with a song by Mike Goudray, Shake a Tail Feather, and we'll be back in the infinite universe at a later date. Blessings.
Come on, everybody, get on your feet. Let's get in the groove, child, and move to the beat. So leave your worries behind, loosen up and unwind. That's what I'm talking about. Let's hear you scream and shout, and shake your tail, fella, and set yourself free. Well, shake your tail, fella, I'm not your remedy. Don't be afraid to try. You can reach for the sky. and makes you feel good like nothing else could. So leave your worries behind, loosen up and unwind. That's what I'm talking about. Let's hear you scream and shout and shake your tail feather and set yourself free. Well, shake your tail feather, the natural remedy. Get your butt on the floor, you'll be yelling for more. Please give it a chance, just be a kid and dance. So leave your worries behind, loosen up and unwind. That's what I'm talking about. Let's hear you scream and shout and shake your tail feather.